Want us to stay and talk to you right now?
We can
Or is that
talk
another time?
if you
Huh?
wanted to. I would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go.
Erudite,
I've
are you
never seen your stream before, but I'll put it up.
okay? Bye.
Hi. Thanks for
Bye.
inviting me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for coming.
Okay.
Seriously.
Fun.
Well, this has been impromptu. First of all, thank you. Before you leave, Erudite, thanks so much for the raid. Much appreciated. You have a fantastic day.
Of course. Have a good one.
All right. And 1 second before I get to you, Kelly. Everyone,
Yes,
guys,
yes.
if you are just arriving here from our friend Erudite's stream, not that one, she's not Erudite. But if you're just
am
arriving, maybe. If you're just arriving, thanks so much for stopping by. Hit that follow button. Hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live this week. Don't want you to miss out on any of the content that we provide. And if you like more of that, we'll be doing more of that with Erudite. We also do, frankly, a lot more toxic content. This is how I roll. We embrace the trash fire here. Fuck that. But yeah, so we have all kinds of panels. It's mixed panels. We have open panels where all those members like you, yes, you sitting at home may participate. So if you're new to all this, if you've never seen this before, this is the place to be. We have these conversations all the time. We love to have you. Again, hit that follow button right now. Expert Social and Chat for our social media. We have all kinds of social media. We have Twitter where we tweet things. Discord where we have all these conversations, right? This currently is not happening in my Discord, but we usually do things in my Discord. So check out our Discord. Be a part of the conversations there. And then what's the other thing? TikTok. Yeah, TikTok for finding videos from the channel. And then YouTube is where you find the VODs, right? Full VODs of this, what we do. So like, comment, and subscribe. That's YouTube. So thanks so much, right? Oh, also super chats are helpful. If you've been enjoying this content, you want to see me continue this, have this kind of space available for you, please be so kind, consider subscribe to the channel, just $5. And you'll get emotes, extra emotes in chat. All that's a big help to the community and be keeping the space open for everybody. So thank you, Doobie, for being so kind as gifting us up to our friend Ginger Ramonth, who is great. She's fantastic. We love her. But yeah, follow the channel. I'm not so yet. Before you leave, follow the channel. Okay. All right. So let's have a conversation with Kelly, who I am just meeting. This is really nice. Yeah. So you had heard of me beforehand?
Maybe I recognize your name a little bit. I'm not sure from where. I've watched like Chudlogic stream a lot. Did you ever do? Okay, I think probably from that or from other people he's hosted. I watched Lunabox a little bit as well.
Okay. Yeah, I had Lonerbox on like once or twice. A time ago. I should hit him up again, actually. He's a cool dude. Thank you for the 300 bits, Jack. One more person starts off a hype train. That'd be great. So sub channel, gift bits or gift subs. Big help to the video. Okay. So yeah, I've had that. But anyway, yeah, very nice to meet you. Erudite was the one who pulled in a friend, Kelly. So I had previously, but since we're here, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Kelly D, and I am a cosplayer. I don't really do anything else that's notable. I just exist on the internet to be annoying.
So you said during the panel, right, that you made a transition, right? You said specifically to Patreon, and then to OnlyFans, I believe, right?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Also, I'm going to put it out there. I'm like the Bud Light of sex workers, if it can even count as sex. Okay. So I use obviously a sex worker platform and a lot of the same techniques, but at the end of the day, like I don't even do full nudity, right? So I'm not going to be saying I know the experiences of people that do like hardcore pornography because I don't have those experiences. I do have a lot of friends that do it, so I've obviously had their secondhand experiences, but you know, limited.
Okay, all right. Well, fair enough. And
how do you think the panel went?
How do I think the panel went? I think that that we, as soon as I heard Lavender's point, right, her initial point, I knew exactly where it was going to go. I've done these a lot, and I knew that her opposition to this something that you all engage in to various degrees, but the something you all are passionate about. That was just going to engender a conversation, an antagonistic one between her and the rest of you three. That was
Well,
inevitable.
I can't do too much when someone states their opinion as fact and reality. Starts to make you sound a bit like a red pill dude. How to like respond to this? Like, I'm aware that what I think and say is like my reality and my opinion, but I'm not gonna state that as like an ultimate truth. It's a bit weird.
Yeah. I for Lavender's and again I meant everything I said that like I really appreciate Lavender's point of view. I guess if I were to critique her, is that I think she could have gotten a bit more agreement out of you all. But she's at a stage where um like she said at the end, I think it was more telling when she said at the end that she's trying to shake you awake, right? That like she has this truth that she sees from her perspective. And you just aren't getting it, right? You're not awake yet. You haven't been red pilled on it. That's the whole thing about being red pilled, right? Like I've woken up to the truth. But even if that is the case, even if you are telling the absolute truth, like you said, like what I'm saying is reality, simply is, right? There is a way of getting that across, right? Like people don't. If it was
That
the
is
case that
less unhinged.
if it's the case that you, Kelly, right, are completely delusional, right? Telling you you're delusional isn't going to make you like sign up to her point of view, right? So that's my critique. I think that I understood a lot of her points, and I think that uh, she had the chance to get them across in a way that's just a bit more persuasive.
Yeah, I mean, I have empathy for people that have got fucked up from sex work or anything else that's bad that's happened to them in their life. But the idea that that's definitely going to happen to everyone is just a bit weird. I don't know. Like, I hope that she does get help with it, because it doesn't sound good if it's had this kind of negative effect. But it's not really
Yeah.
the effect that me and my friends have had.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Okay, so I don't want to make too much of a thing on Lavender since she's not here to defend herself, and I would really love to have an individual conversation with her, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But I wanted to talk about your experiences then. Um, you're saying that you don't have any sort of a trauma um, uh, uh, related to this. Though I'm sure it feels like you would have negative experiences.
I have never had any trauma relating to OnlyFans or just doing pictures on the internet. I've had personal trauma in my actual real life that was completely unrelated to doing sex adjacent work, which I think that probably negatively affected my opinion on men in some ways. But if anything, OnlyFans tends to make it more positive. I don't know. And
Okay.
people seem surprised by this concept. They think, oh, the men that use OnlyFans must be the worst men on the world. And I'm like, no. I know what the worst men in the world are, and they don't pay for things, they just take them.
Okay. Interesting. What you said is interesting in a few ways. So I'm trying to like decide which way to go down this road. So you were saying that and correct me if I'm wrong, that you've had certainly negative experiences adjacent to doing sex work, OnlyFans, however you want to describe it. You had certain negative experiences adjacent to that, but in the actual sex work, it's been just overall quite positive, and that maybe it's because you have like a sense of control, right? If someone comes in, they have something terrible to say about you and your body, then like you block them. And you don't maybe have that
Yeah,
control in
there
your
hasn't
regular
been
life.
that much. You get like the occasional crazy person on OnlyFans. They're either a little bit entitled, you've been a bit slow to deliver content or something like this, and they just go a bit unhinged. But it is very much the very minority of the people At least in my experience, maybe it helps that I come from cosplay, so there is a bit more of an actual community there. So it's not just built off of sex work. It's people that are into a niche as well. So they tend to have maybe a little bit more respect than average. I mean, it's hard to say because I've not. Well, I've seen my friend who she's like a straight up. She went modeling into doing sex work, but even like I don't know, the guys they can be very unintelligent, but they're not inherently evil on the most part. Shitty men and like people that are out to take advantage of you, um, they're not usually paying for your content. Like
Mm.
they're either trying to get it for free or they're out bothering people in real life. And there's not that much I can do about actual sociopaths in real life. It's just they exist. You're never gonna get rid of all of them, you know?
Interesting that the people you're saying the people who would bother paying for your content um are the ones who tend to be just generally understanding, right? Like, hey, they're like a fan, right? Like a fan in any other
Yeah.
fandom, right? Like they really want to engage with whatever you're putting out. And they're
They
generally,
want you to keep making what you're doing because they
mm,
like it. Like,
yeah.
obviously, you'll get the extra parasocially, like, um, attached people, but the majority are just like, I like what you're doing. I don't mind giving you 5 or 10 bucks if it means you keep doing it. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that you do, they could find on leak sites if they really wanted to. And most of them know that. And often they'll go look first to see, do I like this person's content as well? Um, so the idea that people that give you money on OnlyFans, none of them could possibly care in any capacity is a bit strange, in my
Mm.
opinion, because they could just go and get that for free.
Yeah, yeah. That it takes a certain level of investment. I mean, literal investment into this person. And so like the moment they come onto your platform, right, and able to like send you DMs and stuff like that. The moment that they're doing that filters out a lot of the type of people who maybe uh would look at you in a more negative light, right? Those people, they wouldn't even bother paying for it, right? Like, oh, I'm just gonna steal this, and yeah, she's all kind. She's a terrible woman, and for this and this reasons, and why would I want to support her? But like, the fans are the ones who tend to pay, right? And so you're saying that's been your experience.
Yeah. But also, so like for example, um, there's also convenience aspect. So, and there's the fact that usually people tend to morally skew good. So people know that like stealing stuff is usually bad and it's better to just buy it and it's also easier. It's why people they could still use BitTorrent, right? But we usually pay for Netflix and things like this. We prefer it. It's convenient. There's no viruses. We get a bit more based on what we're paying for. And it's just another form of entertainment at the end of the day.
Hmm. So um, I think I want to go back to something you guys said previously, saying that it sounded like what you were saying that men treat you worse because of OnlyFans. You're talking about like adjacent experiences. Is
Oh
this the
no,
case?
so this was actually before really I even did it. I was sexually assaulted, and obviously that does like make an effect on you. Um, but it hasn't affected how I work online. If anything, I feel like it helped me quite a lot. But
Oh,
that's
awesome.
personal. Like, I don't have the issues that Lav has. I'm not entirely sure why she does. She said something about getting attention and addicted to attention. I don't know, but
Hmm. Um, with revealing just as much as you're accountable, how has this helped? That seems extremely counterintuitive. That you go through that terrible experience, and I'm sorry. You go through that terrible experience, and it's helped you in terms of general outlook on life, or OnlyFans? How's
Yeah,
it?
I mean, it allows me to keep doing what I like to do, which is cosplay, which I've been doing for a really long time. But also, it tends to improve my perception on things that are sex related, I guess. Um, because I could just completely shut down and be like, love is, I guess. But I don't think that that's healthy. Well, it's not healthy. But how you deal with things that are bad that happen to you is a personal thing, I suppose. So I don't get any real negativity from OnlyFans. I know that they exist, but I've never had someone be like paying for my content and then tell me how ugly I am or something like this, or how bad I am at doing what I do. And I don't know if it would affect me even if I did, because just the doing of the content and also being able to do it with your friends, like shooting sets with friends is fun. Um, it gives you a bit of a purpose. It gives you something to do. If you enjoy it, it gives you enjoyment. It gets you out of the house. Often you're shooting like not just at your house. You get to do projects with your friends and things like this. So it kind of like helps, at least for me in that way.
Okay. I think um do you think you wouldn't have those opportunities otherwise? Like I don't know your educational experience or background or like opportunity available to you.
Oh,
But
I have a degree and I worked prior. So I really liked, so I started streaming first. I was a Twitch partner. I ended up taking a pretty long break from Twitch because I find Twitch to be way more stressful than just posting pictures on OnlyFans. Like, bro, I think Twitch is more stressful. But like, as a hobby, it's fun. But as a job, very variable, stressful. You're constantly worrying about views and subs and things like this. Um, so yeah, I have a degree. I had a normal job. I did this because I could. The Twitch streaming did well, and then I built a following up from cosplay as well. And it's just like, well, I only have this opportunity to do these things and enjoy being younger, because like I won't have an opportunity to do this in the future. And whilst I've been doing what I do, I have done a lot of contract and self-employed work. And like, even for example, a lot of companies don't mind that I have an OnlyFans as long as I'm not like actively linking to it and posting things that are too provocative at the time of doing it. Like, for example, so I did a Star Guardian cosplay for Riot Games, right? I made my friend a costume too. We took some pictures, and that was contractual. I got paid for it. I've been a league partner forever. So, not always are you just automatically shunned because you have an OnlyFans from all companies. Obviously, some companies are different. It is variable, but it's not quite as bad. If you can maintain a social presence separate from your sex work, that does help.
so that's interesting, right? So I think everyone here, everyone in chat, like when they see a link tree link on a woman's bio, right, before they even click on it, they kind of assume what's behind there, and it seems like it's always seemed to be like this like big leap of separation that is like it's obvious but like necessary, right, for exactly what you're talking about, that it gives these companies a bit of plausible deniability, like these people who are like when we're talking about people who are like Instagram models, right, like they work with all kinds of companies that may or may not have feelings about sex work, but that's not on the page of the model that they are sponsoring, right. This model has just like her in various bikinis and whatnot, right? Or holding various products in her hand, right? And there's no sex work here. But if you click that link tree link, right, you might stumble upon something, right? That like this degree of separation, this plausible deniability. It's
Yeah,
interesting
I
that
mean, at
what
the end
kind
of
of
the day, like Disney's not going to approach me, right? So it's variable on the company. A lot of companies already are for adults. So yeah, their products might not be sex work related, but it doesn't hurt them necessarily in any way, you will lose some work. My friend, who is like predominantly, her dad is a prop maker as well, she did lose some opportunities, but the majority, you'd be surprised at how much you do keep, as long as you're, I guess, professional about how you do things. And I think there is a general more of a understanding about sex work, as I feel like we are less shunned. Like the shunning is less than it used to be. It used to be incredibly taboo, and now it's like, this is more normal than it is weird. And whilst I don't think that it should necessarily be glamorized, I don't think it being a bit more normalized is bad.
What's wrong with glamorizing it? Like, what's the difference between normalization and glamorization?
Glamorizing it just, it's gonna, I wouldn't want to promote it because it's going to be a disappointment to people if they only know what the positive aspects of anything are. I think it's always good to know what the negatives are, so you go in with like open eyes to things. And I do think it would be good if people knew if they were the right personality type to deal with things, because I have seen it have negative effects on people. Like I saw, I don't know if you know who Celestia Vega is. No. She dated Gross Gore, and then she got into porn at a pretty young age. I think she was 18. And it did have a really negative effect on her and the way that the internet treated her. Um, so I do think it can be bad, but I don't think normalizing is bad. I think glamorizing can be bad. I think glamorizing anything can be bad. Like glamorizing being even a YouTuber or a streamer, right? You hide all of the like negative aspects of it, then people get into it and they're like distraught. They're like, "Oh, I'm barely making any money to get by if I'm making any at all. It's not glamorous at all. I'm up all these hours either for like video editing or just streaming constantly just to like pay the bills and things." For the majority of people, it's going to be a really heavy grind, and maybe they're not enjoying of this. They just wanted the fame, and it's just, that's when the reality kind of hits you a bit.
Okay, so what you want is just an accurate portrayal. Like, okay, this is an option that a person can take,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that option. Just that, be
Here
aware.
are the good bits and the bad bits, and these are the things you probably need if you want to succeed, and if you don't have these things, maybe consider a different career. Yeah.
Okay, just having giving people a clear-eyed perspective as
Yes.
to what they're getting into. I think that's fair. I think that's like the best that we can ask for anything.
I
So
think so. Like the easiest way to, so if you think that you could do a career in entertainment in general, which usually they get at school, usually they try to get you into like career paths and career fairs, and they do all these things like they try and help you figure out kind of things you could and can't do. It's like if you're a big drama kid, you get up on the stage, you do all these things, you're probably going to have that extroverted personality type, as long as you're not super sensitive, things like this. If you can deal with this, you could do this as well. But I don't think we're taught that. I think too many sensitive people, introverted people, people with maybe issues. It doesn't have to be mental health. It could just be issues that make you a target, would not be good for you, not just maybe just sex work, but just being an online personality in general.
hmm, you're saying that some people are just inherently more vulnerable. That like um
Yeah.
uh that there are qualities about them that make them more attractive to harass. Now, are you saying that like demographically, like
It's not necessarily more attractive to harass, but they can't deal with that harassment.
yeah,
And I guess that can sometimes make you more attractive. If you're someone that gets very defensive to some mild harassment, it can encourage more.
that's fair. Someone was asking chat that like if you think normalizing sex work, right? Like, if that's like wondering how far you would go for normalizing sex work. So, like, would it be okay to ask a 14-year-old if they want to be a sex worker when they grow up, as you do with an engineer or anything else?
I feel like it's inappropriate to ask 14-year-olds what they want to do when they grow up in general. Like, fuck me, when I was 14, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And then I was really depressed, right? Because I did 6 months of veterinary work experience whilst I was doing biology, chemistry, maths, A-levels. And I could not get over fainting when doing dissections, no matter how much I tried. And I couldn't deal with it. Like, I would have an automatic reaction. I tried to be around as much blood and bodily fluids of animals as I could. It didn't improve, and I still have that reaction today. Like if I have injections, I tend to faint, things like this. So. And I was really depressed because I got into this mindset since I was a little kid, like, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to be, this is my identity. And then it was very depressing. So I think that in general, we should be steering kids into the things that they are definitely strong at and encouraging them at those things as long as they're enjoying them. But we don't necessarily have to pigeonhole them into like one job. And sex work is part of the entertainment industry. So if they really want to do entertainment industry, you could maybe say that. But I think that we are a little bit too much. We apply too much pressure on kids to know what they want to do at too young of an age.
I'm gonna have to ask you. 'Cause I'm sure. What did your blood and bodily fluids training look like? Uh,
Sorry, what?
your blood and bodily fluids training look like? You said I tried to be
Oh,
as
oh.
much. Like, how did that? What was
So
that?
I lived quite close to a veterinarian's, and they used to let me help. They only had one veterinary nurse. It was quite a small practice, so it usually just involved being there whilst they were doing surgeries, and being around them and assisting if there was any times that they would need help, which did happen on some occasion because he only had one other spare pair of hands. And if there were things that went particularly wrong, like there was this dog that ate a stick that was quite wide, quite long, and it perforated oh god, which of your organs is the non-necessary one? But it had gone through his bowel and perforated this organ, and it had calcified to twice the size. And this dog was filled with buckets of fluid. And he pressed down on his abdomen, and just the buckets of fluid came out. So I was ferrying buckets of fluid from this dog into the, yeah. Anyway, I didn't get any better at dealing with this, but I tried my best. But in biology, when you're doing A-levels, you do dissections as well. I think I was dissecting a pig's artery, and I was just like, I'm gonna go faint now. I tried my best, but I just couldn't get over it. It wasn't a reaction I had no control of.
That answer was less fun than I was hoping, but okay.
Yeah. Dog lived, by the way.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Um, but I think that's an interesting perspective. That kids don't have a firm idea of these things, and maybe just kind of give them the space to figure it out rather than pressing them for that. Because there's going to be a lot of disappointment along that road for most people, right? Some people like they know what they want and then they get what they want, right? At the end of that. But for so many others, it's more of a winding trail. So going back, right? Like, what's your relationship with men in general? Like, are you has this affected your dating life or?
I don't have a dating life.
Same here. I hear you.
But also this isn't just men specific. So I'm bisexual, so I could make the effort to date women, but I've been lazy on that as well. So we can't blame men for my lack of a dating. It's my choice, really. Should I work on that? Yes. But like I have a lot of male friends that I love a lot. The only thing I have learned is I cannot trust my male friends' opinions of other men because they have not had the experience that women have. But the male friends of my women friends, they're usually fine. Otherwise, when I meet people at events, it's usually a bit of a variable experience. You don't really know what's wrong with people until you get to know them a bit.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely the case. I ah, um, so I think that's as a content creator myself, I might maybe have a similar experience too, and that I don't go out. I think I hear that from a lot of content creators that like we kind of don't interact with the rest of the world because we're busy creating content, right? Most of us are working from home when doing that, so we tend to leave complete insular lives. It's not true for all of them, especially the ones who are making a lot of money. Then they might have more room to be able to do whatever they want, right? Um, I'm not one
Well,
of
I am
those.
actually very extroverted, so I have been out quite a lot in the last month. I went to Italy with a few streamer friends, Kyuko, Lakari, and Yugi, and then I went to TwitchCon in Amsterdam, and I hung out with a bunch of other streamer friends in there. But they're always ones that I feel comfortable with. They're never like people that have hit on me or maybe feel uncomfortable in any way. And I went to another London-based Twitch event last weekend too. So I do go out, but I just don't have that much interest in dating, I guess. I should make the effort, but it's annoying. Like, I think men think that women have so much opportunity on like Tinder and things, but when you have so many matches, it's very easy to just get overwhelmed, and then you're like, then you don't want to use it, and it's like, I don't know, I don't
Okay,
like dating that much.
so all right, so here's going to be a thing, right? For these uh the men out there who hear this, right? So um like we can understand the idea of being overwhelmed by choices, right? Like
I'm
you've
just saying
experienced
that's
that.
why we don't enjoy it, not why it couldn't be effective. Like, if I put more effort in, yes, but it is very overwhelming and it's not that enjoyable. If it was more enjoyable, I think it would be better for both genders, honestly. I don't know
No,
why it's so unenjoyable.
and I hear you. But I think that hearing that from a lot of men who have the opposite experience, right? That going on those dating apps is like tends to be a lesson in frustration. Because you don't have all that. Be Dad, thank you for the kind $20 gifts or $20 donation, PayPal. Much appreciated. But you have the opposite. Like we have the opposite experience of not having all those connections. So I think for some people hearing that, it's like, well, woe is me, right? Like, look at me, I have like my
I'm not
inbox
saying
is
woe
over.
is me.
Yeah.
I'm not. I admitted I'm lazy. Okay, I know I'm lazy, but I am saying I do think apps in general, they're just not enjoyable. Like, someone needs to make them more fun. I feel like there's a way we can make them more fun, but I don't know how. Or we need to work on like ways that we can connect in real life that is more fun. But I don't know.
What are you looking to get out of those apps, though? Right? I think that's another thing, right? If you're just looking to have some fun for a single night, then it seems like those things are perfect, right? You can make that happen quite easily. But if
Yeah,
you're
I
looking
don't
for
like
something
that.
more than that, then maybe not so much. Or if you
I
were
guess
looking, because I know you're
I'm
not
looking
looking.
for nothing at the moment, but if
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was, it wouldn't be for like one night stands and things. I've never really been a fan of this at all. I haven't had sex in like 3 years, so I'm like, whatever. But it's like, I don't know. I don't think that. So, like, in my experience, you need to sleep with men for a while before they kind of like get used to the things that you like, and you start to have an actual enjoyable experience and you have a connection with them. Without that, that's also personal to me. I don't get much out of sex if there isn't a connection. It just feels like a physical reaction that is not that enjoyable to me. But hey, if I mean, I'm kind of jealous if for people that do, like they get a lot out of just casual random sex. It sounds pretty good, but unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. But and I think that's important. You know what? I think that even among some sex workers who do more, more extreme stuff than you do, I think some of them would say the same thing, right? Like, well, this is just work that you're seeing,
Yeah,
right? This is me performing. And in my personal life, no, I actually don't want to sleep with a person on the first date. I actually do want to have something more substantial. And if you're offering me something less than that, then this isn't going to work. I think a lot of people may not internalize that. So I think it's good to hear that.
yeah. I mean, everyone's different, right? What you get out of sex and personal relationships is variable.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm okay being single. I think when you've been in a bad relationship, right, if there's been any like level of abuse and it's just bad. Being single is like this absolutely huge step up. Like, you know what? So people seem to think that single is zero, but in my opinion, zero is being in a bad relationship, whether it's abusive or not. Zero is bad relationship. A 5 is being single, and a 10 is being in the absolute greatest relationship ever. That's how I see it. So being a 5, you're just kind of average. You're doing all right,
So
in my
you're
opinion. It's
basically
personal.
advocating for like a self-sufficiency that you should be okay in being like just with yourself, just by yourself. And that should be like, the average point thing, right? And you're saying that you can add other people and they add to you, right? So we start at 5
They
as the
should actually
average.
like not remove from it, yeah.
Yeah,
Because they
yeah, yeah.
can remove from it. And I think people are so focused on not being alone that they get into really terrible relationships. It's just like, you'd be better off alone. Oh.
Yeah, but I I think it's interesting. I think people wouldn't expect that of you, right? Like when people when people see anyone, right? When people see a person, they make certain assumptions, and the thought that you haven't been with someone for so long, right? This is out of your choice, obviously, but like haven't been with someone for so long, I think it might be a bit shocking to some individuals.
Yeah, I've only had a few boyfriends and one girlfriend, and one of them was high school as well. So like all of my boyfriends aside from one are really nice guys and still friendly with them now. I actually saw one of them at TwitchCon for the first time in like 5-6 years. So that was random. But I think because it usually tends to come from friendship and having been in social circles with things that I have in common, that those relationships come from. If I'm not in those social circles, which I wasn't for like 2 years because of COVID and stuff, to me that's the majority of the reason of why I didn't date. Also, it was just kind of weird. I don't know how anyone was dating during COVID, really. Obviously, that's not my excuse anymore, but like that was for the majority of the time.
Um, we talked about your experience with women. I've talked to a lot of bisexual women, just like in private, right? I've met a lot of them through Twitch actually. And their experiences are actually pretty fascinating to me because I think for everyone that I've talked to, think all of them so they end up like just dating more men, maybe not even preferring, but just dating men more often. And what I've heard is that a lot of them feel intimidated by like approaching a woman, which I think is fascinating. I think it's fascinating that they feel that way. But
I don't feel intimidated, but the reality is the pool is much smaller. A lot of lesbians are not massively keen on dating bisexual women. And considering some of the kind of bisexual women that approach them, often bisexuals with boyfriends,
mm,
like I understand where these kind of conflicts have come from. I've never had this experience when I've actually been to like gay bars and gay clubs. Always the girls have been really nice, and I've had good experiences. But again, I've only been to one since COVID, so not much has happened since. But like, it is difficult. So as a woman dating a woman, there's just different difficulties than there are as a woman dating a man, and there's always going to be more men that are available than there are women.
what difficulties are there with dating women?
Well, um, there is balancing like societal things, like it's it's not as easy. And what women want is usually different. Um, and it's learning how to approach relationships with them, but also, every woman is an individual as well. So like I'm trying to speak broadly whilst also knowing that it's like an individualistic experience on lesbian relationships. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how to say other than it's just difficult, but in a different way. With men, usually they always like want sex or something fairly recently into the relationship. With women, it's usually more, it's like, how do I connect with this person in these ways? And not necessarily, it depends on the woman as well, but a lot of women, I don't know how to explain it.
Are you saying
It's
that?
just different. I don't know. Like, how do you feel dating women? Like, what difficulties do you think you have when it comes to dating women?
I do. Is that an
Oh,
option for
you
me? No, no.
don't?
I'm
Sorry.
just I'm kidding. I'm like I'm I'm messing around. So
Okay.
uh, my difficulties dating women. I guess as a man that like, and something we talk about a lot, is that there are so many things expected of you, like and what you can provide within that relationship. Assuming this is not like a one night stand thing, which I've done a lot of. But uh, when it's something more long term, you're expected to have resources, right? Like you're expected to have money, car, um, something stable. You are uh, to be a protector, right? These are things are generally asked of you, right? And if you fall short in these various ways, then like you're kind of invalidated. So it's like, I guess for a lot of men, they feel like it's an exploitative relationship for them, right? Like women say, like, well, they feel exploited because like you want sex from me, right? And then there are men who will say, well, we're being exploited because if we don't have these things, even if you're not like a quote unquote gold digger, right? If we don't have these things, these certain markers, then for so many of us, we tend to be invalidated, right? Like we're not good enough at that point. So yeah.
So like what I look for in a woman would be similar to a man. So I would want some level of stability there because I don't want to be like it's not do I want their money? It's more like I don't want to leech either. Like I don't want a boyfriend or a girlfriend that's just gonna be like living off of my money. I want to know that they're like capable and like self-sustaining and they're not necessarily like a detriment or a mess. Like that doesn't mean they have to be a millionaire. They could just mean they have a normal job and they got some other things going for them. Obviously, some people take that to an extreme. Obviously, in the case of gold diggers, they want rich people, not just stable people. But there is a line. I mean, when it comes to what people they look for, stability is one of those things, and that is represented by either what they do and what they have, because we don't really have much else we can see from an outside perspective.
I guess what some men would say, and I don't necessarily like, subscribe to this, but that women are uh, within these relationships, women are allowed to be less stable, right? That they're allowed to come into these relationships without as much and expect the man to provide. Um, and they're like, okay, well, and a lot of men I've talked to said, sure, I'll take that deal. Like, I will provide for you. I'll do all these things, right? But part of that, yeah, is an exchange, right?
Maybe men need to have some higher standards as well. There's a lot of women out there with jobs. Like I feel like it's the majority at this point. Unless you're looking for a woman that you want to have kids with, and they really, really, really want to be a housewife or something like this, in which case those types of people need to be dating each other, you know. But for everyone else, like most people have a job, right, or something else that they're doing. Uh, it's like. As maybe it's a bit rough if you're unemployed. Like I don't know.
But I mean, it seems like it would be nothing for an unemployed woman to be able to like get like in a relationship, right? That wouldn't necessarily affect them, and maybe that might be actually be a good thing, right? Because hey, a person's value shouldn't be related to whether they're employed or not. But that doesn't happen for men, right? Like for men, the like of not having something stable, I think the impact there to their dating life is much more severe.
Yeah, so stability, when we look at it from outside perspective and not just your job, is can be seen as fundamentally a good personality trait, right? We don't want someone who's like constantly in and out of jobs because we don't want to be funding their lifestyle any more than they shouldn't be funding ours. But also, it's indicative of maybe there's something that's not quite right with them. Maybe there is like some kind of issue there that either they need to work on medically, physically. Something's a bit off. My little brother can be a bit like this, in and out of jobs and not really keeping them because he's like falling out with the people he works for, or bad temper, or just obstinate. They can be indicative of really like negative personality traits, and that's why you might avoid someone who is either in and out of work a lot or just doesn't have a stable work. It's not that, because like most people have been through a little period of unemployment in their life, for example. I think everyone has, but when it's like long term, it seems like a red flag.
Yeah,
And you have to avoid some people on dating sites, right?
that
You need to have some basic
no,
parameters.
that's absolutely the case. But like, and you sort of corrected this bit more at the end there. But like, I wasn't referring to anyone who was a like who couldn't hold down a job, right? I just said a person who's unemployed, and you related to their personality type. You kind of essentialized them. Okay, this is something about you, personality wise, maybe something medical wise, right? That you're dealing with. You
People
need to
rely, I
work
know
it
it
out.
sounds shitty, but people rely on stereotypes to kind of get by, because we don't know this person, right? The reality is, if you were to get to know someone, maybe they're a friend of a friend, and you get to know them on a more personal level, you might not mind what they do as the job. But if you're trying to filter out on a dating app where it's just randoms, you have to be able to like do these things. If it sounds harsh or not, I don't know. I also think men should maybe have a little bit of higher standards too, though. I don't think you should be dating like leeches either. It's not good for any of us.
Yeah. I would agree with you on there, right? Like I said, I don't necessarily subscribe to it. I think that, and men complain about these, like, well, yeah, but you don't have to date those type of women, right? Like those type of women, you have the option, right? Like as a functioning adult, of avoiding. And that so many men end up preferring these types of relationships because it gives them a certain level of power, right? Like I make the money, maybe you live in my house, and I have this over you, and so of course I'm going to expect these, and that I feel like the for so many of the type of men who complain about these things, they're not actually creating a world in which women have more opportunities, so that they would be less reliant on a man's financial success, right? That they're not that 50-50 world, that world of equality, isn't something they're actually pushing for, and something that they tend to be threatened by. But still, they complain. Well, I mean, she's coming in here with so much less than me, you know?
Yeah, being reliant on a man is just like my idea of personal hell.
Yeah.
I had to like bite my tongue in this debate because I know that Lav is like completely reliant on her boyfriend now that she quit OnlyFans. And I'm just like, okay, so being reliant and completely financially reliant on one man, I guess, is better than having an OnlyFans. That's not a dangerous position or anything. But like
I,
I was this close from being a cunt, but I pulled back. I'm being nicer today. I gotta try and be nicer. Yeah,
Okay,
gotta
you turned out to be another body part, but not a cunt. Got it. So,
try.
um, but I think that's interesting. I think what you're bringing up is very interesting. So I won't comment on Lab's situation. I don't know anything about her, so I won't comment on that. But the idea of women being financially reliant on a man, for like, it does seem like, I would say that it is a bit more dangerous than having your own business, right? Like what you're creating is something that will be sustainable for you, right? Like, depending on the work you put into this, something that you can grow, something that you can like parlay into something else, right? Open up other new doors for you. But being in a relationship with some guy is you being in a relationship with some guy, and then that's it. And then if he decides that like you're not good enough or whatever, or maybe he just dies, right? Then
Yeah,
you're shit
very
out of your luck.
vulnerable.
So you think that's like, would you say that that's just another form of like female exploitation, or like or maybe not exploitation, but disempowerment when you're relying on a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically just trading your parents for somebody else. You're not really growing up and taking responsibility for yourself. And it's not a good position to be putting yourself in, whether you're a guy or a girl, right? I don't think it's safe. Um, so, when it comes to like marriage and things, there are things, safety nets there for you, that come with marriage and having kids and things, and that's okay. But without that, it's just really not safe. I think that you should always be making your own income so that you can always just leave when you want to, because you have that capital available to you to do that. Because a lot of people will stay in abusive relationships because they just feel like they can't leave. And this is just another roadblock for them to not leave.
So I think that many women who are living like the trad wife life would look down on you and what you're doing, right? Even if you're not doing anything particularly hardcore, still the idea of quote unquote selling your body, they'd say, well, like, how could you? You're putting yourself in a dangerous situation. This isn't the way a proper woman should act. But then I think you would turn around and say,
I
well,
mean, most rape happens in relationships, right?
yeah. So I
There's
think
labs
maybe,
going on about fucking rape that's going on, and I'm like, you're more likely statistically to get raped by your partner or ex-partner.
yeah. So I think you would turn around and say, well, look, I'm financially independent. I'm stable. I have all these opportunities in front of me at any point in time. But you being the trad wife, right? Like you don't have any of those things, right? Like that, the stability that you have is an illusion. Like you're relying on this guy to provide for you, right? To be your protector. But like, look at me. I'm out here and I'm just making it happen for myself, and I don't have those worries that you have, like what cheats on me, like things don't mean anything to me. But like, your well being is so dependent on this outside individual with their outside feelings and their outside thoughts that you can't control, no matter how great of a wife you are. But like you have your control in that, like, okay, well, I'm gonna put more work in today. Like, I'm gonna make more content. I'm gonna reach out to more venues. And
Yeah. Also,
yeah.
there are a lot of guys and girls that are more than happy to date sex workers, especially if it's just literally nudes on OnlyFans. Obviously, progressively more, the higher the level, the harder it is, because when you're actually having sex with other people, for example, there's like STDs and health issues to take into context. But a lot of guys don't have any issue. Girl post naked pics, like it doesn't really affect them as long as it doesn't bother them on like a personal level. Like it's not that bad. Um, I can't say that it hasn't led to abusive relationships because I have seen it. Like either guys pretending they're okay with things that they're not and then trying to be controlling. I've seen that happen. Or, trying to be manipulative and gain from it. That does happen. But it's not impossible to date because you have an OnlyFans either. It's like a lot of people are more open minded these days.
How long have you been doing this, and has that overlapped with your dating life yet? Right, because you said you've been alone for 3 years. Did you start OnlyFans in those 3 years?
Patreon, yes, I did since 2017. OnlyFans, not as much. But also I only have a free OnlyFans, so I do just occasional bits and bobs here, and I like to use it as like an additional social media because it's like when it's free, it's like free to follow, and you get a lot of followers, kind of like this. Um, it's not been an issue with people that I dated prior to now, and I've certainly not lacking in any interest since. I've had a few weird interactions with people, but like it's been fine. I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be some guys that would be put off, but they're probably not the kind of guys I would have wanted to date anyway, if that makes sense.
So, this is something that I've been kind of like talking about a lot. Other men, and it's something I've been trying to push back again. Basically, that there is something that makes a woman inherently less valuable, because she has been putting stuff like that out there, right? Now, even and I'd say that for those guys, they'd have maybe less of a problem with what you're doing, but still have some sort of a problem that like I just last night we were having a conversation, you know, they were saying that like as a man, that they wanted a woman that was just for them, their body, right? That's just for them. They're sharing it with me and only me, and that inherently makes it more valuable. Um, and they were saying that a lot of men feel this, that maybe even the majority of men feel this way. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think some men think this way. I think it would be hard to quantify if it was the majority or not without like doing some research on it. Do I think some men think this way? Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's all though, or a majority even, but that's my personal thoughts on things. But I do think it does tend to change the higher end level. Like you're going to have a harder time if you're an actual prostitute or you do hardcore pornography all the time. But there's someone out there for everyone. Like Rich Campbell dating Mia Markova, right? Like they get on well. It doesn't really matter that she still does porn or whatever. So it can make things a bit more difficult, but I really wouldn't want to date someone that ascribed my value to if they've seen me naked online because of my own personal values and because so many people have what's the word? The nudes leaked, like revenge porn and things like this. Celebrities as well. We don't undermine a celebrity's value because they had the nudes leaked, and that's happened to so many of them at this point. I don't think anyone's being like, oh, we're not going to give a movie to this woman because someone put her nudes on the thing. It just didn't really happen. But I feel like maybe celebrities get away with additional that the regular folk don't. So there is that.
Yeah, I think it's true that, I mean, for celebrities they have just inherently more privilege, and so like when you have more privilege, you have more leeway for anything that happens, any bad thing that happens, so there's that. But beyond that, mm, it would seem that um when we're talking about uh these things, that when you're saying that a person is less valuable, I think they're saying they're less valuable within the dating realm, right? There are some people who would say that you are less valuable as a human being, right? But those people are disgusting. Ignore them. But within the dating realm, the more you show, the more progressively less valuable you are, like less wanted you are as a product, not as a product, well, product, but as a person in the dating realm. Do you think that like makes sense? Like, I mean, think maybe you're even admitting that you're saying that, well, if you're an escort, then you'll have a tougher time finding people, which means you are less valuable within the context of a dating market, right? Looking at
Yeah,
what
but
capitalistic
it's a bit
runs.
more understandable because not everyone wants to be having like STD tests all the time and things like this. It's a bit of a hassle more than anything. Because when you're in a monogamous relationship, you don't have to do all of that stuff, and that's one of the benefits of having that monogamous relationship, I think. You don't have to worry that your partner's gonna get pregnant or get someone else pregnant by accident because of the work that they're doing, and they're not gonna get hurt sexually because that happens. I've seen that happen to people on set where they get injuries and things, and then they can't have sex with their partner either. And there are periods where they can't have sex at all because they're waiting for results and things back. Because I've watched some documentaries on porn star stuff. So
So
it's not necessarily that they're worth less. It's more that there are more inconveniences with having to date someone who does that. And probably the majority of the people that do higher level content tend to date within their industry, either people that are very understanding or people that do the same thing as them, so they don't really mind too much about what they do.
There was a porn star who got his dick broken. Like yeah,
Oh,
it was,
yeah.
well,
Work-related injuries.
yeah, that
It's not
was
something people think about so much, right?
he recovered eventually, but like literally he was it was
Jeez.
I heard the description of that and it was pretty terrible. But yeah, work related injuries happens. But oh, Juicy, thank you for the resub for 7 months. Awfully kind of you. Guys, if you're enjoying this content, sub to the channel, just $5. Get bits or give subs, get our emotes, get app reviewing, get all that good stuff. If you're enjoying what we're doing, help us keep this sustainable by helping out the content. Thank you again, Juicy, for resubbing. Yeah, but okay, so you're acknowledging the whole escort thing, right? And or porn star situation, and like the inherent challenges to those professions, but like moving down, but moving away from that to like OnlyFans, like I think those men that I've been talking to would say that sure, we don't have to worry about STDs from you, but you've put yourself out there. You are attracting you are putting salacious content out there, attracting other men using your body for this monetary gain, and so that in itself just makes you less valuable.
Yeah, they're not really the kind of guys I talk to or date.
I mean,
No,
fair enough.
I'm sure there's plenty of them. Like I get it. And you like the things you like, I guess, but I think it's odd that men would choose to date a girl that does sweet fuck all and just wants your money rather than a girl that sells titty pics on OnlyFans. Like, you do you, but hey.
Do you think that there is any value in that more? Hmm, do you think that you would ever want to do the more traditional lifestyle? Not that you have a taste for like online sex work or not even sex work, but just like having this level of independence, right? And using your body to do so, that you could go back to like the regular life.
Um, I would not have any issue getting a normal job if you mean with relationships.
Or would
I
yeah, would
haven't
you
really
want
found it
to?
to be an issue. Well, you mean like would I want to get married and have kids and stuff like that? Or
Well, we could talk about that as well. But I mean, uh, would you want to go to a life where you got like a 9 to 5 and you are in a relationship that is strictly private, like you it's like your partner says, I don't want you doing this anymore, and you're like, you know what, that's okay, right? I'm gonna do something else. um I'm gonna use that degree, whatever that's in, and do a regular job. That'd be okay.
um I yeah, I mean I always build up like work experience on the side of doing other projects. If it's usually like PR, marketing, influencer management and stuff. I try not to have the gaps in the resume type thing. And it is doing OF is a job that if you wanted to have another part-time job to keep those things going as well, it is something you can do. And I would recommend it in a lot of circumstances, unless you're the kind of person that's like, I'm going to make some millions and then just never work again. That's fair if you want to do that and if you are capable of doing that. But for the majority of people, I would say use the money that you're doing from OF either to put into studies or to have as a nest egg for retirement or whatever, whilst you plan on what you want to do with the rest of your life, kind of thing. Because a lot of people have done that. But
Well, I
I
want to
don't know, yeah, how much
yeah
I would
it
want to really date someone that wasn't chill with that kind of stuff in general, though.
Yeah, so you don't see see a situation that your partner, be it man or woman, that you love a lot, right? Like a person that you are deeply connected with, says that yeah, I was okay with this overall, but we're going to transition to other parts of our life, and maybe now is the time. So like, I would really like it if you moved away
Got a
from this,
normal
right?
job.
Like let's say like yeah, like we're thinking about having kids, right? And it like while this is fine for us in our couple life, right, that you're doing these things, right? But now we're having children. Like shouldn't you give this up? Like wouldn't that be best for our family?
As long as it was the joint decision of both people, I think that would be fine. If both people are like, "Yeah, I wanna have kids and I need to, like, transition out of this, have a break from it, and then work on getting a more typical job," I think that's perfectly fine. It would only be bad if the other partner was trying to bully them out of something that they were doing prior to them actually dating. But there's nothing wrong with, like, wanting to grow and change and do different things as you progress through your life. It's fine.
I think there are people who have all kinds of answers to this, right? Like one, what you just said, but two, I think that inherent to that type of you know complaint from a partner is that what you're doing is problematic. That even though you're still profitable, you're still enjoying what you're doing, that like engaging in sex work wherever level you're at is uh, like corrosive to family life. Right, these things are kind of inherently incompatible. So of course you need to transition away from it. Right, like if you are
I do know
selling.
some people that have done sex work through them being pregnant and stuff like this. It's a bit weird, but hey, some people do this. From a personal level, I think it's okay to stop and it's okay to not stop. You just need to be talking to your partner and like figuring it out. You need to be having these conversations earlier than when they need to happen so that you can both be on the same page about things, right? I think it's more important.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Uh, this has been a fun conversation. I've
I'm
actually,
glad.
yeah, I really like this. I would love to, have more conversations with you in the future. You seem like a really interesting person with an interesting life story. So like, let's do this again, please. Um, yeah, I sent you a friend request on Discord.
Okay, that's
Let's
cool.
yeah, let's make that happen. Kelly, to all these people who are watching and wondering, once again, like let them know where they can find you. Yeah.
I'm just Kelly Jean on socials. If you
Uh,
wanna find me.
and
It's okay. I mostly just do cosplay and shit. It's not that interesting.
Jean. So everyone,
Yes.
go check
You'll
out
find me if you Google
Kelly
me.
Jean. She is absolutely fantastic. I'm just meeting her now, but just like the rest of you. So I'm really excited. Stick right there, Kelly. I'm gonna send you all off to someone. Guys, before you leave, hit that exclamation point. Hit that follow button. If you haven't done so yet, hit that follow button. Make sure you know I'm going live. We do this all the time. Expert for social for our social media. We got Discord where we talk about all these things. We have our conversations. Won't you be a part of that? Jump into our Discord. We have TikTok. We find using videos related to the channel. We have Twitter where we tweet things out, letting you know what's going on, and we have YouTube where what do we do there? We have the full videos. We have all our content stored there. So check out our YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. It's a huge help to the channel. I am going to send you guys. Oh, I'm going to send you off to our friend IRI, who's going to be having a debate soon on our friend Wick's channel. So go check out IRI. He's wonderful. I love him. He's great. He's fantastic. So off you go to our friend IRI, and give
Bye.
me yeah.